What is the outlook for stock index futures?
Well, today we have stock index futures under some pressure, and there is some talk about higher longer-term interest rates having an adverse impact on stock index futures. However, I think it's more of the short-term interest rates that tend to dominate. In any event, stock index futures have shown a tendency in recent months to recover from any pressure that we have seen, so I think that will be the case again now. Look for a recovery in the indices.
What will Federal Reserve Chairman Powell say in his testimony to the Senate Banking Committee tomorrow?
So we do have Fed Chair Powell testifying before the Senate Banking Committee tomorrow. He will talk about the interest rate outlook, the economic outlook. He may talk about the asset purchase program, but I think overall his statement will most likely be on the dovish side. So that would be supportive to the industrial commodities and commodities overall in general.
What is the outlook for the precious metals?
Well, the technical aspects for the gold are really not that good right now. We have seen some pressure as of late, but just the opposite is true of the silver market. The technical aspects there seem to be very constructive. Also, the fundamentals are bullish for both gold and silver, but probably more bullish for the silver in the short run. So from here, I would favor silver much more over gold, although I think that both will trend higher. So once again, it's the silver market that I think you should be trading from the long side.
What did USDA Ag Outlook Forum say about U.S. 2021-2022 crops outlook?
The USDA Ag Forum is not normally considered a market mover. They come out and they talk about acres, yield, demand, and carryout for the next growing season. But the USDA numbers were friendly. They talked about 92 million corn acres, 90 million bean acres, almost record yields, but kept corn carryout for 21-22 around 1,550 versus 1,500 this year, and the bean carryout at 140 versus 120 this year. The soybean stocks to usage ratio for 21-22 is record low. And so the market took that as friendly numbers, especially considering that most people are using a 2021 corn carryout closer to 1.1 billion bushels than the USDA's 1.5.
The corn, soybean, and wheat markets had muted response to the bullish numbers. Why?
Some people thought that the corn and soybean market would take off on the numbers, but they didn't. Now, November futures are gaining on the nearby May, and corn futures are up 3 to 4 cents and making new contract highs. Wheat's up anywhere from 6 to 7 cents. I think that a demand market is not straight up. It's not like every day you get a dry forecast and the market trades higher because of stress on the crops. I think the soybeans are running into some resistance because even though the Brazil crop harvest in beans is late, it will begin soon. Also, we're looking for soybean exports out of the U.S. to gradually decline from the record pace that we've had to date. And so those two things probably gives the market resistance until we start seeing the basis firm up, until we start seeing the spreads turn around and the nearby gaining, which would probably give us the trigger mechanism to trade over $14 nearby beans. Corn market will gradually move higher. Very good demand on the export side. The USDA did say next year's sorghum exports will be higher, which could mean more domestic corn feeding and less sorghum feeding. We also believe that once people get vaccinated, they'll travel again, which will increase gas demand and increase also the demand for ethanol. And then also long term, we would think that post-COVID, there'll be some increase in inflation, increase in raw material demand, which also could increase food, feed, and fuel demand. All things good for the commodity markets. And inflation could also give us a little upside potential.
Is a cold U.S. Midwest and South Plains weather behind us? What is the outlook for U.S. spring weather?
The record cold weather is behind us. Temperatures should warm up this week closer to normal. There could be one more shot of cool air the second week in March, but nothing like what we've seen. Logistics was stopped. Power plants were shut down in Texas. A lot of problems caused by this record cold temperatures, but hopefully it's behind us. And the outlook for the spring is normal. We could actually see rains in the southern plains, rains across the Midwest, especially in the Ohio River Valley, but nothing that will slow plantings down. The big question is La Nina. If it sticks around or comes back, summer could be drier than normal, especially across the northern plains and western Corn Belt.